Welcome to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast. Sit back and listen to interviews, discussion about books, and anything else literary. There's always something or someone new on the show. Good evening, listeners, and welcome to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast. Behind the books, honest voices, real stories. I'm Amy Shannon, and each episode brings you a heartfelt conversation with the storytellers behind the stories, authors, publishers, and creatives who shape the literary world. And every second Sunday, join me for story time, where tales come alive for all ages. Let's turn the page together. Tonight we have an author with us. Thank you for joining us. Will you please introduce yourself and let people know how to contact you or find your books?
Sure. My name is Glenda Carroll. I write the Tricia Carson mysteries that are set in the San Francisco Bay Area. They have an undercurrent of swimming and open water swimming in them. And open water swimming is basically swimming anywhere except a pool. And you can reach me at my website, glendacarroll.com, or you can certainly go to Amazon. Just plug in my name and my author page, and my books will pop up.
Great. And I'll have that information in the description for this particular episode. So, how long have you been writing?
That's a good question. I've been writing all my life, but it's been nonfiction. I've been a sports journalist. I wrote a column for my local paper, which is the Marin Independent Journal. I covered sailing and swimming and occasionally surfing. And all of my professional life, I was like a communications manager for a national healthcare organization. I started writing when I was in middle school, and I had a column where it's kind of like a gossip column, but I talked about things that were happening at the time. So I didn't really start writing fiction or mysteries, and I chose mysteries because that's what I read the most, until I retired from my professional job. And I remember somebody asking me at one time, this is before I retired, they said, "Is there a novel in there?" And he said, pointing to my head. And I kind of huffed and puffed and was kind of arrogant. I said, well, how can I write about anything that's not true? But I found that once I started writing mysteries, I could kill off people with the best of them, really. And so I've been writing this mystery series, for about 10 years. My fourth book came out in March, and that's called Better Off Dead. Came out of March of this year. And I'm about 10,000 words into book 5, and I'm just kind of plodding along, which is the way I write.
That is great. Yeah. I like to just write, and then if I have to stop and think, then I stop.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful. So you said you had an excerpt from is this your latest book that's been published, yes, or becoming published?
No, this came out in March of this year.
Okay. Great. I look forward to it.
Would you like me to read it?
Yes, please.
Okay. So what I'm reading is the first chapter of Better Off Dead. There are going to be 2 people in it that you'll hear speaking. One is Tricia Carson, our protagonist. She's an amateur sleuth. The second is her younger sister, Lena, and they both live in Marin County, California. That's north of the Golden Gate Bridge, about 15. As soon as you go over the bridge, you're in Marin. But just for your information, Tricia actually brought up her sister, and is now back in San Rafael, California, and was living with her sister for a while. And now she's moved out, and they're still very good friends, and they have that sister vibe where they can be a little snarky sometimes to each other. So let me start here. Chapter 1. Let me get my reading glasses.
Okay.
I really shouldn't be here, I complained to Lena as we drove up the long pebbled driveway leading to an elegant home in an elegant community in Marin County. I never went to funerals. They made me itchy. That's right, itchy. Within 1 block of the memorial, I broke out with a bumpy red rash that probably would last the whole day. You were specifically invited. You have to be here, said Lena. My eyes were on the parking valet, who motioned for me to stop. I never met the man who died, Andy Barlow. Was he? I didn't know him either. Come on, his son asked us to be here. We are paying our respects. The last time I saw Harrison Barlow, the dead man's son, dated back almost 12 years. Then he was a geeky kid, 8 years old, hardly talked. His clothes hung on him like wet rags, and his hair stuck out of his scalp like porcupine quills. Lena, along with teaching kids to swim at the community pool, often gave private lessons to the affluent children in Marin County. Harrison was one of those. Now a college junior, he had been summoned back to Marin from his university in London, England, when his father died. Didn't you say Andy Barlow died in a boating accident, I asked, scratching my neck. Lena shuddered. The worst kind. A powerboat ran over him. His body was chewed up by the boat's propeller. My mouth flew open. That's terrible. That's every open water swimmer's nightmare, Lena said, nodding. We walked up the front steps to a strikingly modern home, spread out over 1 level, all glass and brick and angles. Guarding the immense doorway was a 5-foot easel and a large photo of Andrew Barlow, with the words "Celebration of Life" at the top. The photo emitted confidence and contentment. He looked happy and very much alive. Bet he didn't look like that when they picked pieces of him out of the water, I said. Oh, Tricia, that's disgusting, my sister hissed under her breath. This is a celebration of Andy's life, so keep the snarkiness to yourself. I read in his obit that he was cremated and his ashes were spread off the San Francisco waterfront in a bay. His teeth were really white, I said, squinting as I leaned forward to examine the photo. Bet he had some work done on his face. And how would you know that? Lena asked skeptically. Just a guess, Lee. Look at the area around his ears and near his eyes. The skin looks stretched, doesn't it? Lena sighed. How old was he? 50s, I think. He looks like a guy trying hard to stay young, I said as we walked toward the empty entry hall. For reasons I never understood, Lena received a last-minute invitation to this memorial. Why did Harrison want his former swim teacher to be there? And stranger still, why was I specifically asked to attend? I planned on going in, offering my condolences, then escaping to the car. I'd listened to the San Francisco Giants podcast until Lena came out. But my sister wouldn't hear of it. A butler-type person popped out of a doorway. This way, please. He handed us both a program, led us through the highly polished house, and pointed to the beveled glass doors leading out to the side lawn. Please go through the doors and find a seat. They should be starting momentarily. Lena, my neck is one big itch. I won't be able to sit through this. I need to leave. Oh, suck it up, Lena whispered. She looked over at me and her eyes grew to the size of dollar pancakes. How did your neck get so red so fast? I told you. I desperately tried not to scratch. We passed a table with a guest book, a bucket of ice, and an elaborate silver water pitcher. sparkling crystal glasses, and white linen napkins. I grabbed a handful of ice and wrapped it in a napkin, resting it on my neck and sighing in relief. The side yard resembled a setup for a garden wedding. Rows of white chairs, a podium at the front with another large photo of the deceased. Off to the left, behind a tall iron fence, was the pool. It was a no-nonsense, 3-lane, 25-yard competition pool, complete with backstroke flags and a 36-inch timing clock on the pool deck. On the right side of the chairs were the rolling golden hills of Northern California. Was Andy a serious swimmer, I asked? Lena shrugged. Must have been with that kind of setup. She walked toward 2 seats in the second row, but I grabbed her arm and pulled her into the last row. Here, I want to sit here so I can make a quick getaway. Rock music from the 60s and 70s played quietly in the background. I wish they turned the music up, said Lena, absent-mindedly pushing her ginger curls off her face. Do you think the DJ takes requests? I asked, hiding a smile. Tricia, knock it off. It isn't a club. As the ice cubes dripped down my neck, I gazed around the room. Some of Marin's finest were here. The mayors of San Rafael, Tiburon, San Anselmo, Larkspur, Ross, Corte Madera, and Sausalito sat together off to the right. Police chiefs in crisp uniforms sat behind them. And then came the local celebrities, musicians, artists, high-flying charity workers, movers and shakers in the LGBTQ plus community, and aging rock stars. Isn't that? I pulled her hand down. Don't point, Lee. But I leaned forward and tried to see who she was looking at. And that's as far as I'll go. You still there? I'm finished.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Sure.
It's enough. You read enough to entice anyone who really likes a good mystery. So, sounds very interesting. So how did you, excuse me, what inspired you to write like this past book, the one you just read from? How do you get your inspiration?
Okay. Usually my books, let me backtrack here. I write about what I know. There are some people who have these marvelous imaginations and they can write about anything, but I base my books on an occurrence and then I kind of riff off of that. In this case, I mentioned I write about open water swimming because I am one. And about 10 years ago, there's a swim called the Maui Channel Swim. And someone was competing in it. So they were swimming across to Maui. And right at the end, they go into a marina. And someone on a boat was not paying attention, pulled out of the marina and ran over a swimmer.
Oh my goodness.
He lost one of his arms, and I think it eventually had to be amputated. And then the fingers on his other hand, I think he only ended up with 2 or 3 fingers. And this happened to be a man from the San Francisco Bay Area. So I heard about it. I wasn't competing at all. But it's not the first time a boat has run over a swimmer. And something like that always stays in the back of my mind. So I knew I wanted to write about a tragic boating accident.
Right.
But I didn't know much else. I didn't know where else it would go.
Oh, and that's where the mystery unfolds.
Exactly.
No, that's great. I like that. Yeah, anything that will keep you on the edge of your seat when you're reading and you just can't wait to turn the page, or you just, you slow down and absorb it.
Well, I hope that's what happens. in the case of this book, the Coast Guard and the local sheriff all say that this was just a terrible accident. But when Harrison comes back from England, he is sure that this was planned and that his father was murdered. And the reason why he reaches out to Lena and Trisha Carson is because Trisha's well known by this time. She's 4 books into solving crimes in the open water world. Mm-hmm. So that's why he approached her.
Oh, well, that's what happens sometimes, though, in real life. That it looks like an accident and smells like one, but it's it's not an accident in some ways. I mean, running someone over, it's like running someone over in your car. It can be an accident or it can be intentional. So
exactly.
And I do know just from, I'm not a boater or a swimmer, not a fan of the water, but I do know, like, locally we have, there's lakes. I live in upstate New York, so we have several lakes, and they are patrolled by the state police or the sheriff's department. And there are so many times when they've had to deal with accidents just because people were careless, or they think driving a boat while drunk is not the same as driving a car while drunk.
Right.
And it could be a lot worse too, I mean, there's a lot of danger.
Yeah. It's funny, when I was writing it, I wasn't thinking too much of how it related to the rest of the people in the United States. But, I get these Google messages for boating accidents, and I get at least 1 or 2 every day. I mean, now even, we're out of summer, going into winter. So it's not that unusual for an accident to happen, which kind of surprised me, because I always think of it in terms of swimmers, where that is unusual when a swimmer is run over or hit by a boat. But the actual fact of people, boating accidents, they happen all the time.
Yeah. Even the big boats that it wasn't that, well, it feels like wasn't that long ago, but it was when a ferry had all these people, these elderly people and disabled people on their boat as doing a tour, and it sunk. And they had I can't remember how long ago it was. It's just something that always sticks in my mind. I mean, like, I don't like water. It's only because because I almost, when I was about 5 years old, I almost drowned in my grandfather's pool. So ever since then, it was like, unless I can keep my head above water and I can have my feet on the ground, no thank you.
You're not the only one that feels like that. Yeah.
I just do what I do. But you're right. I mean, there are various water-related and boat-related injuries. I mean, the states that have snow, and we're one of them, that we get a lot of snow, but, it's not people go out in the lake and it's not completely frozen, or it's really like slushy, so they'll try to put a boat on it, and just people. I don't think common sense is as common as it used to be.
That may be the truth. One good thing is that all of my boats, all of my books have accidents or something related to water. And it could be a swimmer. Like the first book, Dead in the Water, was a swimmer is in a race, an open water race, and he stops swimming, and it seems like he has had a heart attack and needs to be pulled out. And I'm trying to think. The second one, a body washes up on one of our local state parks, and that leads into it. And then the third one, it doesn't have somebody dying in the water. It's more about coding, you know, a cell for a entrepreneur who's living next to Trisha, who she finds out is trying to hack into some of the towns around where she lives and shut down their government for a price. They'll reopen. So it's
Right.
all of them except for Dead Code are related in some way to swimming.
Nice. No, that is, and I like it when people write what they know. I always, what they're familiar with and comfortable with. I always tell people, when we're in grade school, our English teacher tells us write what we know about. But then I've learned over the years that not just writing about what you know, but also write about what you want to know. That way, like I'm not a doctor, I'm not a police officer, but so I could create characters that were believable. I researched a lot. And sometimes when I went to the doctors myself, I would ask them questions.
Yeah, that's great.
So I always say, write what you know and write what you want to know. And that gives you your incentive to, create characters that you like. Like, I love history. So a few of my characters were historians. And I am now an unofficial historian of the county I live in. And I used to write full-length novels, and they were all various like dramas and suspense and detectives and things like that, because that's the kind of stuff that I like. But then I started doing research for one of my books I wrote a couple years ago about my hometown and how it became about, and it kind of just gave me, some people in the book just inspired me. So I'm working on another one about the people that aren't just somebody that people know, but the ones they don't know, so I like that, I don't know everything about history, or local history, and some things I'm surprised I remember.
Well, I agree. I mean, within each book, I'm researching something. Like in Dead Code, the third book, there's a lot of computer hacking, computer terminology, coding. I know zip about that.
Right.
However, my sister's partner had his own computer security firm,
Mhm.
and I'd ask him questions, and I said, I'd write something and I'd send him a few pages, and I said, is this real? I mean, would somebody read this and say, who knows computers? Okay, she knows what she's talking about. Or they would say, oh God, this woman knows nothing. And he was so helpful. And I'll just tell you one little part that I wouldn't even thought of. So Trisha is talking to her sister, Lena, in the kitchen, and she wants to tell her that she thinks their house is bugged. So
Mhm.
she turns on the water so that would muffle the sound.
Right.
And I sent that scene to Les, and he wrote back and he said, no, 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 no. You have Trisha and Lena go outside, get away from the house. Even anybody who wants to hack in and listen can hear anything, even through running water. And it was something that, I never thought of. And even in terms of the name of the book, Dead Code, again, the third book, I made it up. And I approached Les again and I said, by any chance, is there anything in the computer world that's called a dead code? And I remember we were out to dinner, the three of us, and he looked at me and he said, how do you know about dead code? And I said, I don't. I just made it up because I thought it sounded like a nice title. And then he went on to explain to me what dead code was. And I used it correctly, which came as a shock. But yeah, so research is, it's fun, time consuming, but I always end up learning something that I didn't know before I started. For Better Off Dead, I'm in touch with a medical For the book I'm working on now, which doesn't have a name, body parts, a skull, skeleton of hands and feet wash up on Marin County beaches. And I'm in touch with a medical examiner to find out, can you tell the sex? Can you tell how long it's been in the water? Right. Can you tell how old the people are? Right. So, I don't have a medical background, so this is all new to me, but I want to make sure that I'm right and I'm precise.
Yeah, I mean, and another thing too, just to what you were saying is that, I watch a lot of crime shows.
Me too.
I love true crime documentaries and all that stuff. And I see one of the things that people, would ask is, say they were dismembered. Were they dismembered if alive or dead? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
There would be, they could tell if the blood was pumping at the time somebody was dismembered, or it wasn't, or if they drowned or were later just thrown in after they died.
Right, afterwards, right.
Yeah, so, yeah, there's and what's kind of weird too is that people actually do stuff like this,
I know, I'm just making it up, and I'm making it up based on things that I know have happened, but they didn't happen in a crime way. Somebody had a heart attack or, whatever, or a body was found, but it wasn't that this person was killed. So then I have to come with, I guess I have to figure out if I'm going to use it, how to kill them, how they ended up like this.
Yeah. Maybe the guy that had a heart attack, he could have been poisoned, or
right.
Some are given, it's that pufferfish poison that it doesn't kill them, but it makes them look dead, or totally, people will completely think they're dead, and by the time they come out of it, they're already buried.
Oh dear. That's something I'll remember. I'll go check that out.
Yeah, I can't remember. There's actually a chemical in there, but people actually eat pufferfish, but they have to remove the poisonous part out of it. Right. But that poison, basically, it drops their heart rate so low that people they appear like they're dead.
Huh. Interesting. That I had no idea.
Or something. Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but you never know. Boy, this has been a great conversation, and I'd like to go back. I'm going to go back and get the first 3 books and check them out. And when your next one comes out, let me know. Send it to me. I'll read it and do a review, and probably have you back on the show to discuss it.
I would love to. It's really fun, I've lived with this family that I write about. Tricia, her sister, her father shows up. Her father, just to give you a little of the backstory, this family of mother, father, Tricia, Lena, lived in San Rafael, California. The mother dies of breast cancer, and when Tricia's in high school, and the father is just bereft, and he tells her, when you graduate high school, I'm leaving. You're going to have to take care of your sister. And he does. So, and then 20 years later, he comes back into their lives. And it's not an easy fit at first, but now he's very much a part of their lives. And, I know this family so well that oftentimes, I'm walking around and I'm thinking, I wonder if Tricia would go by here. I wonder if Lena would do this. And, they feel like friends to me. And
Yeah.
that was something I didn't really know and probably wouldn't have learned if I hadn't written the series. So it's been a very interesting experience.
Yeah, I have a couple of my books are standalone singles, and I have a few where they're like they have sequels. But I have one. The first book I ever wrote as a full-length novel, because I used to, as a kid, I would tell stories, and when I could write, I would write poetry and in my diary and short stories. And then when I became an adult and had kids and a full-time job, I decided that I needed some time to myself, so I started writing again. And that first book triggered something inside me, and that was over 20 years ago. And now that I ended it a couple years ago, the series, but it ended in volume 67.
Oh my gosh.
And
Oh my gosh.
I know, and it was like there were times when I'm like, okay, this is the last book. I said that several times.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean about having, like these people are your friends, like, them, and
Mm-hmm.
each one is like a person, not just a character.
Right.
I understand that. I mean, I will, because I miss those characters, because I don't write for them anymore. I think all their stories have been told, but I like to go back and read them and just kind of connect with them again.
I understand that completely. I really do.
Great. So thank you very much for being on the show. Like I said, I will definitely have you back. I really enjoyed our discussion.
Thank you.
Just
Yeah,
been
and
a
just
ramble.
thank you for letting me talk about, my books in the series. I sometimes you sort of wonder, does it, do the books make sense as a series? And they do. And I only find that when I sort of go back and take a look at them as a set. And so I really appreciate the time to talk about them and tell you about the characters. And when I get book 5 done, which won't be anytime soon, by the way, I will contact you.
Great. Thank you. So it's the end of another great conversation. Thank you for being on the show, and thank you, audience, for listening. If you wish for you or your book to be on the show, just go to amysbookshelfreviews.com/podcast and schedule your pre-recording. Please follow this podcast on Spotify. I'm Amy Shannon. Be safe, be well, and always be kind. Tune in here again next week for another tantalizing discussion. Thank you for listening to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast.